What's up? It's your boy Domuto. We're back with another video. Today, we are watching Saiyan. What if all Saiyans were good? Part 3 and 4. And yeah, I'm ready to get into it, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, let go.
Shallot and Giblet make their way around Earth. It seems like a relatively weak planet, and hopefully an unassuming one. But as they make their way around the planet, they notice some weird things going on. The only reason they know this is because they went through something similar. There's some sort of army that's taken over Earth. Clearly, it isn't supposed to be this way. They learn it's a group called the Red Ribbon Army. A few years back, they started their conquest, and at some point there was a falling out between the leader, as well as one of his higher officers. The leader, Commander Red, ended up dying, and now the army is taken over by Commander Black. And it's going pretty strong, too. Well, Earth will be a great place to stay for Shallot and Giblet, but first off, looks like they're going to need to fight this army. They're not going to live under another oppressive rule, and after all, if they're going to be staying on this planet, they might as well do it a favor. They haven't really fought in a while, and this is the perfect cause to fight for. Giblet thinks they should really lie low, but Shallot's ready to fight. This is completely separate from Frieza. It doesn't really matter if they fight here. There's no way this planet has contact with Frieza's army. And they don't. The Red Ribbon Army has taken over Earth, but that's it. They know nothing else beyond Earth. They don't even know aliens exist. This could be a nice side project for them, and it's also kind of necessary. While they're up to that, let's go back to Namek. So, how did Vegeta get here? And more specifically, why did he choose Namek? It's almost like he knew Bardock's family was here. By now, Bardock and Gine have joined too. Nail came along too to see the other Saiyans because something big's going on. Well, first off, let's explain what happened on Planet Cereal. A few months back, Nappa actually fought the Heaters and destroyed their communications in the process. He started off by sabotaging them to make sure they can't get in contact with Frieza. Not that they officially work for him, they're kinda just colleagues. Which is good, they kinda work on their own, so Frieza's not always checking on them. And by sabotaging their communications, this not only prevents them from getting help from Frieza, but also prevents them from getting help from each other because they can't communicate with each other now, unless they stick together in one group. The battle was definitely really tough, but that's what Great Ape is for. Nappa, Vegeta, and Turbo all transformed, and Granola also helped during the fight too. When they killed the Heaters, they also covered it up, making it look like they died elsewhere. So if Frieza ever does find out that they died, or realizes something happened to them, Nappa made a paper trail that makes it completely separate from Cereal. It's dirty work, but hey, it had to be done, and it's pretty smart. That means they don't have to worry about the Heaters anymore, and hopefully Cereal doesn't have to worry about the Frieza Force ever coming back. It was unlikely in the first place, but Nappa staging their demise makes it more unlikely that they'll ever show up. They'll be led away from Planet Cereal. Anyways, with this, they were free to leave. The first thing they did was summon Taranbo. Now, they've always been searching for the Saiyans. And they've known about Taranbo, but they couldn't really use him because they didn't want the Heaters to get him. Monaido wanted to summon Taranbo for help, but he also told them it would be wiser to wait until the Heaters were dealt with, so now that they were dealt with, they summoned Taranbo. One option was to have all the Saiyans teleported right to here, but that's probably not a great idea. First of all, they don't know every Saiyan's unique situation. Maybe they don't want to leave. And while they would hope that they could trust every single Saiyan out there, they don't know if they can. But that part of their reasoning is the least of their worries. Their main concern is that they didn't want to have everyone in one spot just at the moment, especially not on Cereal because they didn't want to put that at risk. Especially after what just happened to the Heaters, there would definitely be alarms raised. At least, if the Heaters were ever found. So they didn't just want to unwillingly teleport everyone here, and even though Taranbo would have asked them anyways, they decided a better option would be to figure out where all the Saiyans are. So, they got that info out of Taranbo. Taranbo gave them the location of all the Saiyans. All they need to do now is manually scout them. This is how they're going to find other Saiyans, and Namek is their first stop. Not many Saiyans are left, but there's more than enough to make a resistance. Vegeta knows the Saiyans are resilient. But not just that, he's confident in something else. He believes a Super Saiyan will rise up eventually. If their numbers aren't enough to defeat Frieza, the Super Saiyan will. Of course, it's just an old legend, and there's not really much merit to it. Tarble has always wondered if his brother has just told that to himself just to make himself feel better. He kinda believes in the legend, but he also feels like it's just a motivator for Vegeta. Tarble has honestly been feeling pretty pessimistic. He doesn't say any of this out loud. But since his brother believes in it and it seems to motivate him, Tarble starts to believe in it too. And Nappa follows Vegeta's order. King Vegeta did say that Prince Vegeta would be the next one to lead. So Nappa is wholly loyal to him, and obviously Tarble is too. That's his brother. As for Granola, he's been living with them for so long that they're his allies. They're close to him. They're essentially family. As far as he's concerned, this is his battle too, especially with the history of his people. Granola actually did have an idea. He said they should just wish for power from Taranbo, but Vegeta said that's not how he wants to do this. Granola's welcome to, but at the same time, Granola has grown so much stronger just by training with them regularly. It's kind of a pride thing. The Saiyans are good people, but of course, they're still prideful people, and Granola goes along with it. The reason they're explaining all this too is because, well, they're on Namek. When Monaido heard more Saiyans were on Namek, that made him happy. He actually did come along too, and he steps off the ship. It's been so long since he's seen other Namekians, and he wonders, if there's Saiyans here, have they ever tried to use the Dragon Balls here? Kakarot says they haven't, They've known about Piranga this entire time, but they never really had any need for the Dragon Balls. They were so focused on growing stronger that they didn't even think to leave Namek, especially because they kind of liked it here. It probably would have been better to use that same wish, and Bardock kind of kicks himself for not doing that, but hey, it still did happen in the end, so it doesn't really matter. It probably would have been pretty risky for him to do it anyways. So, what now? Two groups of Saiyans have finally met each other. Vegeta says they don't have to join if they don't want to, but Bardock steps up to personally talk to Vegeta. He knew Vegeta's father, and of course Nappa knows Bardock too, they work together. Vegeta doesn't even need to ask him that question. The answer is yes. They're going along with him. This is what he planned for anyways. He wanted all the Saiyans to retreat so they can grow stronger on their own, and then strike back down the line. This is what he needed to happen.
Okay.
He just wishes King Vegeta were here to do it, but he's not abandoning the Saiyans. Part of him has always felt bad for leaving the planet so early on, but at the same time, everyone else ended up leaving anyways, and it turned out to be the right choice. But there's no need to run anymore. They could face Frieza. And Vegeta's glad to hear that. But they're not going right now, of course. They still do need to grow stronger and form a strategy, but more importantly, they need to find all the other Saiyans they can. So Bardock's family ends up joining the crew, and their next stop is a planet called Yardrad. Apparently there's only 2 Saiyans here, but Nappa does know of one of them. Well, 2 of them actually. One was Paragus, another high-level soldier that he worked with. Bardock of course remembers him too, and he also remembers that kid Paragus had. There was something weird about him, like he was mutated. He had some sort of weird power. Vegeta, for example, was born naturally strong. But as for Broly, he was seemingly weaker, but at points his power would spike and it would be insane. It makes Vegeta wonder if he's connected to the legend of the Super Saiyan at all. It's kind of a long shot, but hey, worth checking out. Plus, they need the allies anyways, and they would get Broly and Paragus regardless. Their ships get closer to Yardrad, and on Kakarot's ship, somebody randomly appears inside of it. Kakarot's taken by surprise because, first of all, who the hell is this? He got in here randomly. It startles him. He's about to fight, but then he realizes it's Broly, the guy they were looking for. How the hell did he get on the ship anyways? They all land on Yardrad. Broly apologizes. He wasn't sure who was coming towards the planet, but he wanted to check it out because he felt a few strong powers. He teleported to Kakarot because he was one of the stronger ones. He was simply trying to protect Yardrad, and he was ready to destroy any of the ships approaching. So, he could teleport. That's interesting. Yeah, Paragus actually can too. With all the time they spent here, of course they learned Spirit Control. Spirit Control has not only made them a lot stronger, but gave them a bunch of unique techniques, one of them being teleporting. The Yardrads have been pretty hospitable, but there is an issue. This planet is actually on Frieza's radar. Thankfully they have been able to hide from Frieza, but there have been times when Frieza's soldiers approached just to search it. Paragus is glad they came here, but he's worried now. This might raise some alarms. So, Vegeta asks him the same question. He wants to group together. The more Saiyans, the merrier. And Paragus, of course, is up for it. Same for Broly.
Okay.
Slowly but surely, they are growing their ranks. But they can't stay here for long. Far away out in space, Broly can sense Frieza's soldiers approaching. This is a surprise to all the others because they can't even sense everything that far. Bardock tries to focus, and he can kind of feel it now. So if the Frieza soldiers have been coming here, how do they hide? Well, teleporting makes it really easy. Broly and Paragus each stick a hand out, coating the entire area in their energy. This includes all the ships the Saiyans arrived on. But then they tell everyone to hold on to each other, and they teleport away from Yardrad. Before they go, Paragus mentally communicates with Paibara. He's sorry to leave so briefly, but he warns them of the Frieza force approaching again. They'll be fine, there's no issue here. But he is concerned that he won't be back here for a while, if at all. So, just in case, he thanks Paibara for everything, saying goodbye because this might be his last. And Paibara hopes for the best. Those two have been great to have around. He hopes not only for their sake, but Yardrat's sake, that they could defeat the Frieza force. So, this is good. Now they have more people in the crew, and Broly and Paragus can teleport. Their search is going to be way faster with the ability to teleport. So, where are they going next? Well, they do need some time to train, and they are also strategizing along the way. But while they're working on that, they're also figuring out what planet to go to next. One of the ones Taranbo mentioned is Earth. Apparently there's 2 Saiyans there. Vegeta's never heard of the planet, and it's a pretty small one. Definitely not one that Frieza would even notice. A great place to hide out. Pretty smart. Looks like that's going to be their next target because it seems to be a safe target to go for.
I see.
The Saiyans make their way to Earth. Frieza is currently at his base. His army does have a lead on something. Nothing confirmed yet, and he doesn't really want to get too ahead of himself, but there's sightings of another enemy. On random planets, his Frieza Force soldiers have disappeared, and it seems like the planets were gone without a trace too. Which is strange because, from what he knows, the Saiyans aren't just going to do things like that. And he can't confirm any of the rumors because most of the people who have seen this enemy have died. But conflicting reports say that he might actually be a Saiyan. Either way, it doesn't really matter to Frieza. There's an enemy out there attacking the Frieza Force. Whether it's a Saiyan or not, it's still an enemy. Maybe even a
Who the
group of
fuck is
enemies.
this?
Because the enemy seems powerful, Frieza sends out the Ginyu Force. He rarely has to rely on them, but here, he wants to. With all these planets disappearing too, he kinda needs to round up some more. Usually he'd go to the Heaters because they would have a lot of planets stocked up, but he hasn't been able to reach them recently. Maybe they're ignoring him, maybe it's nothing, but if they are dead, he wouldn't really care anyways because he never really liked them too much. They were kind of a thorn in his side. But something weird's going on, because if they are dead, that means someone killed them, obviously. That's another issue for another time. But he is going to look into it. Meanwhile, the Ginyu Force will handle this. They have very specific orders. If the enemy isn't a Saiyan, the Ginyu Force could wipe them out with prejudice. But if the enemy is a Saiyan, the Ginyu Force is to take back that enemy alive. Frieza will be the one to personally kill that Saiyan, if that's who it is. It has been a while since he's caught one after all, so he's pretty happy. Their numbers are dwindling, but he needs to make sure they're all gone. That number needs to be 0. The Ginyu Force makes their way to one of Frieza's planets, one that they suspect to be targeted next based on the previous attacks. But as they arrive on the planet, they see something strange about it. The planet's just lifeless. Like, the life was sucked out of it almost. That doesn't really make any sense, because from what they know, this planet had a lot more
found out they
people
got
on it,
turtles
and
in this
a lot more
bitch.
foliage, too. But they fly around, and over the horizon they see something weird. There's a giant structure far away. Their ship's about to land, but then it's attacked by some people. The Ginyu Force is ready to fight. Of course, they strike a pose first, but they've been prepared for battle. They begin fighting this group and, of course, are going for the kill. But the group doesn't really seem too strong, so they're not too concerned. Especially with all their abilities together, it's pretty easy to defeat them, and Ginyu's ready to kill them. But he hears an explosion behind him. Goldo completely disappears because he's blown up. Someone killed him. The captured soldiers laugh. The Ginyu Force is strong, but they can't stand up against the Crusher Corps. The Crusher Corps? Ginyu's never heard of them. But a voice then echoes out. Everyone will know the name soon enough. The man standing there is definitely a Saiyan. He clearly looks like one. Jace and Berta immediately go to apprehend him, but the Saiyan single-handedly fights them off and kills them. The rest of the soldiers get free, and they begin fighting Raku. Before he kills Ginyu, he introduces himself. His name is Turles, and Ginyu is actually a bit concerned because,
I like
well,
turtles.
first of all, his squad mates are dead. But second of all, this Saiyan doesn't really seem like the others that they've met. Turles isn't evil like his normal self.
Well, nigga,
He's
that
still
turtles in
evil,
this
though,
bitch. That's
just
funny.
not nearly as ruthless. But he's going down a much darker path than the other Saiyans. He thinks that Saiyans need to embrace their roots as ruthless warriors, and leverage their power. So, he found something interesting called the Tree of Might, and he's basically been enacting guerrilla warfare against the Frieza Force, while at the same time, draining their planets of life. Some innocents have died in the process, but hey, if sacrificing others means that he could win and kill Frieza in the end, it doesn't really matter. As long as they're not fellow Saiyans, he doesn't mind. Out of desperation, Ginyu tries to steal his body, but Turles then tackles Ginyu, bringing him into the other side of the planet, where it's currently nighttime. Ginyu's terrified. He sees a full moon shining above him, and Turles is too fast for him to fight.
Cooked.
Turles then transforms into a great ape, killing Ginyu on the spot, then going back to where the rest of his group is. This is good. They've been growing much stronger. The Tree of Might's been helpful, but they need to find stronger fruits. Still, clearly the results are good. This definitely isn't enough to fight Frieza, especially because Turles doesn't think he'd be able to handle the Ginyu Force alone. He picked them off one by one, which was fine, but if they all fought him together, he'd definitely lose. There's no doubt he can't fight Frieza right now. But again, he's going to any length to do that. He's been completely radicalized. As long as Frieza dies and the Saiyans live, as well as the Crusher Corps of course, he'll be happy. But he's not just seeking out the Tree of Might. No, he's also seeking out Saiyan legends. Of course he knows about the Super Saiyan, but there's more. And he remembers back to the Saiyans' past. The evil Saiyans in particular had a lot of great power, didn't they? He'll definitely be looking more into that. As far as Turles knows, he's actually part of that lineage. One of the few evil Saiyans to still be around. Maybe the only one. Of course, Planet Vegeta has changed him a bit, but he likes this side. Just like in the main story where most Saiyans are evil and some are good, the inverse happens here. Most Saiyans are good, but there are some who are bad. With that, we'll leave off here.
All right.
Would you get good? Turles
Part
doesn't really
4.
know where to go next.
What if all
What he does
Saiyans
know
were
for certain
good?
is that Frieza now knows about him. Even if he doesn't know specifically about Turles, he knows that there's some sort of enemy out there, which is why he sent the Ginyu Force after him. So, he's probably going to shoot up the priority list. Turles has a few ideas in mind that he's trying to execute. Right now, he's relying on the Tree of Might, but he does have something else in mind. He never really liked the fact that the Saiyans turned on each other, because the evil Saiyans were clearly doing something right. They're powerful, bold. They embody everything a Saiyan's supposed to be, and they're not soft like the good Saiyans that won before. Again, no Saiyans are enemies to him. The thing is, there's not really any evil Saiyans around. So, he's pursuing some other options, things that he hasn't really considered before. He doesn't really have a problem with the good Saiyans, he just thinks they're too soft to accomplish anything. He thinks they'll end up dying unless they really take things seriously. So, Turles is looking more into Saiyan history. Things that happened far before he was alive, and things that happened far before Planet Vegeta's destruction. There has to be some secrets there that he can uncover. Things that could help him overthrow Frieza in cold, help him grow stronger, or at the very least, help Saiyans get back to their peak. And while he's not an enemy of the good Saiyans, he knows they're out there and they probably will get in his way, because this isn't how they do things. He's doing all this for the good of Saiyan civilization. He doesn't really care about dominance, but he should be their next leader. He'll definitely be a very effective one. Let's go over to the good Saiyans. The Saiyans slow it down a bit. They have to make sure they don't get caught, because then everything's screwed. So, while they're enacting their plan, they think they need to take it a little bit slower, especially because they don't really have a true plan yet. Broly seems to be the strongest of the group. and having gone to Yard Rat, he's learned spirit control, which is huge, especially for someone like him. Beyond the abilities that he got from being on Yard Rat, he can control his power pretty well, but nobody knows about his anger. Broly's upbringing wasn't perfect. I mean, he was hunted after escaping a destroyed planet, but it's still better than normal because first of all, he went to a hospitable planet. It's not Vampa. And second of all, Paragus wasn't a bad father here. He's actually a pretty good father. So Broly didn't really have a lot of rage moments. Paragus had seen it flare up here and there, but he never really lost control. Paragus knows he's really powerful, much more so than the average Saiyan. But he nor Broly knows the true extent of it. It makes Vegeta wonder if their group right now is enough to defeat Frieza, but he's not really sure. Even Broly alone might be enough, but you have to learn more about everyone.
Yeah, he's
right
enough.
now, here's the power levels they could record. Broly's the strongest at 3 million. Of course, they don't know his peak. Paragus is at 50,000, and he also knows spirit control, which makes him really powerful. That's how he got so far ahead, and that's why he's the second strongest of the group. Spirit control really raised his power on top of everything else. Vegeta's not the strongest despite being the leader here, but he's at 30,000. Bardock's at 20,000, with Nappa, Kakarot, Raditz, Gine, and Tarble pretty much all hovering around 15,000. They're not all exactly the same, but pretty much around that. Of course, all of them are aiming for the top. They're still Saiyans after all, and they have pretty friendly competition. The slow time that they have right now is going to be used for training, especially because Vegeta wants to see where everyone stands in terms of power. As the group's leader, of course he wants to know what he's working with. So, a few weeks pass, and eventually they do make their way towards Earth. This might be a little bit harder than finding Broly and Paragus on Yard Rat because first of all, a lot of people seem to live here. Second of all, they all kind of look like Saiyans. Earthlings, for the most part, just look like Saiyans without tails. It's actually really similar. Well, besides the ones that have turned into animals. And they try and look for high powers, but it seems the two Saiyans here might be suppressing their powers. It's only natural they'd know how to do that by now. So Vegeta lets everyone know who they're looking for. A pair of twins, Shala and Giblet. He's guessing if they could find one, they'll be able to find the other. They'll probably be together. Tronbo told him what planets every Saiyan was on, but he doesn't have the exact locations because everyone moves around on those planets. But those two have to be here, even though they can't sense them. So the Saiyans split into small groups of 2 and 3. Kakarot goes off with Raditz, and the two of them fly into one of the big cities that they could find. They really don't know how they're supposed to do this because this search could take a while. Like, even using scouters won't really help either, and just looking for Ki won't help because they don't know what Ki to look for. Of course, they could look for strong Ki, but if the two of them are suppressed right now, they don't know the exact signature to look for. They also don't really want to make themselves known here because of the off chance that Frieza might have some sort of info on this planet. It's very unlikely, but still. And also, if they made this all public, they don't know how the civilization on this planet will react. Like, they'll be hearing that aliens have existed on this planet, and more have showed up to retrieve them. Surely Shala and Giblet haven't caused trouble, but still. It would probably freak everyone out, and in the worst case, tip off Frieza if he has some spy here or something. So, this search is probably going to take a while. They're just going to have to look manually. Kakarot and Raditz have this area, so they just decide to split up. Kakarot's flying around, and of course, people spot him. Like, you don't see a flying person every day. But he's able to play it off. He doesn't really want to raise suspicion. When he lands on the ground, though, a woman approaches him, because she just saw that. She asks how he was just doing that, but he kind of avoids the question and simply asks who the strongest people on this planet are. You know, it's kind of a weird question, but she laughs. Especially with this guy flying around, he probably is pretty strong himself. It makes sense he's trying to find those two. He's probably trying to fight them for the upcoming tournament as well. Wait, tournament? What's she talking about? Well, she's a bit confused too because this guy's flying around, which isn't normal in the first place, but he also doesn't know what the tournament is and he doesn't know who the strongest people are. Yet he's asking about them. It makes him sound like he's never been to this planet before. Kakarot just plays it off saying he lives under a rock. Well, she explains. The two strongest people on this planet just saved everyone.
Chi-Chi.
Okay, this is good news to Kakarot because there's two strongest people. That's exactly what he's looking for. It's probably Shala and Giblet. No one knows where Shala and Giblet came from, but everyone on Earth knows that they saved them from the Red Ribbon Army. These two single-handedly defeated the army, and it was seemingly pretty easy. Things were really bad here. And nobody knew about this, but it was to the point where Kami himself almost got involved. But then these two arrived and fixed everything, so he didn't do anything. They don't know about this is just what Kami's been up to. Now these two are regarded as champions, and the world is going to celebrate with another world tournament. And these two are going to fight the winner. Whoever's the strongest on Earth will fight them, because it seems like those two are the strongest. Honestly, she thinks they're pretty overrated, but they did help Earth after all. It's just weird because it's not every day they see people flying. She's a pretty powerful martial artist herself. The reason she knows all this is because she's going to enter the same tournament. But something catches her eye. This guy she's just meeting has a tail, just like those two. Which isn't too crazy, she's used to animal people, but not people with tails. And his clothes aren't the same as them, but they're still weird clothes. Right now, Kakarot's wearing Saiyan armor, normally he'd be wearing his Namekian attire, but with him fighting alongside his squad right now, he's wearing this so they could all match. This guy must be connected to the two of them in some way. Again, she doesn't really know how, but they're clearly part of some strong group. And she asks Kakarot about this, and he says yeah, but he doesn't really elaborate much. He's just looking for them because it's really important. They lost contact a while ago, and they need to regroup. Again, weird. He's almost talking like he's an alien, but sure, she'll show him where they are. That's great. Does she actually know who they are? No, they're just really famous. She leads Kakarot into the middle of the same city they're in right now. And nearby, Kakarot can actually sense Raditz. He's standing atop one of the skyscrapers and he looks down at Kakarot, seeing the same exact thing he is. There's a huge rally in the middle of the city, and there's someone who seems to be the leader of this planet. But that's not the big deal here. The big deal is the fact that two Saiyans are sitting right next to him. There's no doubt about it. Those two are Saiyans. He doesn't know what Shallot and Giblet look like, but those two have to be them. Telepathically, he communicates with them. He tells them to not be alarmed and to act normal. Of course, they're a bit surprised at first, but Kakarot tells them he's a fellow Saiyan, which still they're skeptical about because some guy's just speaking into their head and they've never seen a Saiyan do that. But he directs them to where he is in the crowd. They don't know how to communicate back, but he tells them they'll meet behind the stage. So Kakarot goes over there and Raditz flies around with him. Although Raditz is a lot more covert about this. And curious as to what's going on, the woman follows Kakarot. Giblet's a bit skeptical himself, but Shallot kind of believes it. I mean, that guy that they saw, from far away, they couldn't really tell, but it looked like he did have a tail. And Shallot's nose is telling him that he smells similar. He smells like a Saiyan. Not that he really has much to compare it to, but it's a little bit similar to his brother. That nose always freaks out Giblet. Shallot and Giblet are able to get some time alone, and honestly they kind of needed this because there was some big ceremony with them being awarded something. They didn't really care about all of that. They don't want to be paraded in front of the whole city. Kakarot and Raditz arrive, with the same woman following Kakarot. No one knows why she's here, but Kakarot says she helped him find them. They begin talking with Shallot and Giblet, and the twins learn that more Saiyans are still alive. This is great, and that's exactly why Kakarot and Raditz came here. The rest of their group's here too, but they're all spread out right now looking for the twins. They're here to reunite the Saiyans and to fight Frieza. The twins also tell everyone what they've been up to here. Giblet explains what happened with the Red Ribbon Army, and Shallot says the food here is pretty great too, so they decided to stay a little bit longer. Although they don't really like the idea of being world champions here because they kind of want to keep a low profile. Again, the entire time that same woman is listening, and it just confuses her even more. Are these people actually aliens?
Yep, they aliens.
Well, Kakarot explains. They might look similar, but the four of them, as well as some of the others here, they're part of a group called Saiyans from outer space. I mean, this is kind of a huge deal. Aliens exist, and they're here on Earth. But their secret's safe with her, especially because they seem like good people. Also, this is kind of great because if those two are leaving Earth, that gives her a better chance of winning the world tournament. And this tournament thing does sound kind of interesting to Kakarot. He has no clue of what it is, but it seems like Earth is a nice place. Once they settle all their business, maybe this will be a nice place to visit. Especially because Shallot says the food here is great too. Kakarot's big on good food. On Namek, there wasn't really amazing food because none of the Namekians really ate anything. They just drank water and occasionally had plants just when they wanted to taste something. But he's kind of rambling. He will come back here to try the food, and Raditz probably will too. They found who they needed, and they can leave now. But as they leave, Kakarot says he wants to thank her. Anyone could have helped him, but she's been pretty helpful. And he never got her name. She learns his name, and he learns her name is Chi-Chi. He thanks Chi-Chi. He hopes he'll see her again. The four Saiyans all fly off, regrouping with everyone else. Vegeta introduces everyone and himself, and Shallot and Giblet are immediately ready to join. They were pretty young when they left Planet Vegeta, and they knew that the previous Vegeta was the ruler. They're very glad to see the prince is still alive. And more important, the fact that more Saiyans are alive. Vegeta really wants to try and find everyone, but it's going to take a bit. They are trying to keep a low profile right now, but he's confident. Frieza and King Cold will be defeated, and the Saiyan Empire will be rebuilt. The Saiyans all leave Earth, with Vegeta trying to find the next best location. But as they exit the solar system, Broly suddenly perks up. He senses something not too far away. And slowly the others start to sense it too. Nobody immediately recognizes the key signature because they only learned how to sense ki after leaving Planet Vegeta.
Right.
But the previous generation of Saiyans is pretty wary because they know someone who is that strong. A power like that, and one that feels that evil, it has to be either Frieza or King Cold. Gine never saw him up close, but as for the other three, Bardock, Paragus, and Nappa, they have seen King Cold up close before. It's more of a gut feeling, they can't really confirm it, but they think it's King Cold approaching them and not Frieza. Which is still a huge issue, but at least they know it's just one of them. So, they divert their course, going to a random planet nearby, making sure the ship doesn't follow them, but it does follow them. Bardock flies the ship to this planet, and it's one they could breathe on, but more importantly, he chooses it because it's one that they could probably fight well on. And he chooses a very specific part of the planet to land on. This planet seems to have a few moons, and on the part they're on now, the moon's about to rise. The ship that they sense lands near them, and they feel a bunch of other smaller powers. King Cold steps off, alongside a bunch of soldiers. The first thing he sees is just Bardock. The other Saiyans are all hiding, trying to ambush. Simultaneously, they all launch attacks, wiping out the entirety of King Cold's force, destroying his ship in the process too. He chuckles. An ambush. That's kinda cute. It's a bit annoying they destroyed his ship and all his communications, but he'll be fine here. He could take them all out, and he could fly back through space on his own. He didn't realize those were Saiyans he was pursuing. Their scouters didn't even pick up any powers on the ship, they just saw a ship flying through space. Almost like they were all suppressed. And the fact that there's so many Saiyans in one spot. It's interesting. King Cold does have an order to catch them, but with this many Saiyans around, it
An
wouldn't hurt
order?
to kill some in the process. He's handed his empire over to Frieza, so he shouldn't be working as hard as he
okay.
does right now. But he picks out Vegeta and Tarble in the crowd. He was betrayed by their father before, so this is partially personal as well. He'll at least keep those two alive. For the others, he's not too sure. Vegeta's not worried at all. He didn't expect to fight King Cold this soon, but this is fine. What King Cold doesn't realize is that the Saiyans are far stronger than they ever were before. He's not just outnumbered, he's outmatched too. There's a reason that those scouters couldn't pick up their power before. They were suppressing it, and King Cold is simply an appetizer on their path to freedom. Unlike Frieza, King Cold hasn't trained himself, but his current strength should be fine. Frieza's definitely been prepared more, and it makes King Cold wonder if he should have prepared as well. He's confident in his abilities though. At least until he sees something rising in the distance. A glow over the horizon. Bardock smirks, just on time. All the Saiyans look over towards the moon, and King Cold quickly tries to launch a blast at it. But Broly then teleports in front of the blast, taking the full brunt of it. And it was a relatively weak blast too, so Broly doesn't really feel anything. Quickly, King Cold tries to launch another attack, but Broly then tries to fight him one-on-one, giving the other Saiyans some time to transform. And once their transformation's complete, Broly then looks towards the moon, transforming himself as well. He's never done this before, but when he transforms, he feels a bit strange. And then, Broly just feels himself lose consciousness. All the Saiyans have turned into great apes, and Broly follows suit. They get ready to fight King Cold, but they also see something's kind of off with Broly. Paragus does mention he's never transformed before, but it should be fine. He might rampage a bit, but they'll be able to calm him down.
Oh,
Right?
shit.
With that, we leave off here for now.
God damn it, Broly. This nigga Broly. Bro, y'all gonna fuck shit up, man. God. Anyway, shout out to Shan for the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I like the story so far. I really do. I'll wait to see the next one. Next 2 chapters. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And just got the last video right here. Check out another video like right here. I'll catch you next time. Peace.